All good, Roland, or still?
Give me one more moment.
Okie dokes.
You're all set.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Specialized Learning Subcommittee meeting. It is 5:32 p.m. and we are going to jump right in, and I'm going to turn it over to Bridget Adams today to start our presentation. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much. As you can see, we have some guests with us this evening, so their faces will be coming on and folks might be in the car. So I'm going to do my best to introduce everyone. And as they join throughout the presentation, I may interrupt myself to introduce people at a natural pause. So thank you all for joining. I'll make a general introduction of the folks who are in the room and ask that they wave, come off mic and say hello. And then I'll ask board members if you're comfortable to introduce yourselves as well, so everyone gets to know each other. I am Bridget Adams, Executive Director of Specialized Learning for Norwalk Public Schools, and I'm so grateful to be here tonight to talk with you, the subcommittee, and our listeners from afar about the specialized programs here in Norwalk Public Schools. Joining me this evening, I have Deirdre McKinnon, the Education Administrator for Specialized Learning, and my right-hand woman.
Hi, good evening.
Jamie Granite is a Specialized Learning Administrator for some of our elementary schools.
Hi, good evening.
I have Hannah Cohen here with us. She is the Specialized Learning Administrator for Related Services, joining us live from the road.
Hello, I do apologize for being in the car. I feel like I live in my car 24/7. So
we're so grateful. I know so many folks are joining us in between kid pickups and other errands, and we're just so grateful that you're here. Veronica Lenzen's iPhone is here with us. She is a special education administrator for the high school programs and our transition programs. And she may not be able to come off. Oh, she's probably driving into the woods and may not have a great signal, but she is here with us. Taylor Rubio and Caitlin Brown are a dynamic co-teaching duo from Kendall who have joined us this evening to talk about co-teaching. We have someone on an iPhone who is not identified, maybe a member of the team, maybe a guest listening in.
Hi, Bridget, it's Marissa Mangone.
Hi, Marissa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for thanks. I love always coming to these meetings. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. And Assistant Superintendent Rob Pennington is here. I see that he's connecting, so he may not have a full connection. And I think I've managed to introduce everyone. And Janine and Mary Ellen, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I am Janine Randolph. I am member of the board and of this lovely Specialized Learning Subcommittee, and excited to be here and learn about more about our programs that we have going on.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Flaherty-Ledwick, and like Janine, I look forward to this meeting. It's always something exciting that you wonderful instructors and leaders are doing. So I notice I have a pen in my hand. I'm not the secretary. I can't, when I hear things, my learning styles, I have to write them out. So I'm ready to write all your wonderful things. Thank you.
Here we are. So bear with me for just a second. Okay, I think we've got it. Is everyone able to see my screen that I'm sharing? Some
Yes.
nods. Yes.
Yes,
Wonderful.
we got it.
I am not a Zoom guru. I'm more a Teams guru. So I'm doing my best here. Bear with me. So thank you all and welcome to our conversation this evening about equitable and inclusive specialized learning practices that exist within our district. We have a rough agenda. I place this here because we do have some members of the team who are going to be joining us at various times and have offered to pop in and say hello and a bit about their particular program. So you may find that we follow our presentation a bit out of order, but the ultimate objective is to talk about each of the programs that exist within our district. And so with every presentation, conversation, collaborative opportunity, professional learning committee conversation, we always start our work with our beliefs in mind. And we restate them here that we believe that all children can and will learn. All students are general education students first, that special education is a service, not a place. All are included. General education curriculum is special education curriculum. Every child has the right to their least restrictive environment. And we believe that educators are tasked with ensuring least restrictive environment and appropriate scaffolds for access. The vision of specialized learning is the vision of Norwalk Public Schools. As special education is not a place, we are part of this program and embedded within and throughout. Our vision is to build a more equitable and just world where each and every Norwalk student is prepared for all aspects of life. And you'll see this evening how these great educators are doing exactly that work and realizing that vision every day. We're so grateful to them. We're currently supporting 321 students in our specialized learning programs, the specialized programs. When we talk about individuals with disability or eligibility for an IEP, individualized education plan, we seek to provide services and supports in general education to the greatest extent possible. And there are individuals who may not engage in school within these programs. We often will create a program to give a child what they need. And so those students aren't necessarily captured in this count. I'll give you an example of one student. Any grade has specific supports that are needed from specific programs or service providers, in addition to what might be support in the academics. It could be there are behavioral supports or executive functioning supports or mental health supports. And so those individual programs happen to the greatest extent that we can. And then there are the students for whom a program is designed. The intention of implementing these programs is to meet students' needs here in district within their local school, again, to the greatest extent possible, ensuring inclusion, providing equity, and maintaining least restrictive environment. We want students to have the opportunity to learn in their school with their neighbors or with their friends from across town. I've marked the current enrollment numbers, and in all things education, we tend to speak in acronyms. So if at any point today anyone is discussing any of the programs, please feel free to stop us and tell us we're talking in letters and ask us to use our words, and we will be happy to do that and try to do that on our own. So we'll go through each of our programs, our co-taught program, our LEAP program, which for the most part is for our young individuals with autism, our Literacy Academy that is designed and directed for students with dyslexia. Our Next Steps program is one of our transition programs for young people who have met their graduation requirements and are within the ages of 18 to 22, or specifically the day before their 22nd birthday. Pine is the new iteration of NEST. This is a co-taught program embedded within a school. It is a philosophy more than it is a program. Practical skills classes are courses that are offered at the high school level for individuals who need a more restrictive environment, a smaller setting, targeted instruction, sometimes modified curriculum. Project Search is a second transition program for our students ages 18 to 22. I know I'm going quickly and we'll go through a bit slower. STARS is our specialized program for students with complex medical needs or functional educational needs. And our success program is our therapeutic program embedded throughout a full continuum from K through 12. So I'd like to introduce this conversation starting with our successes with co-taught, and I'll ask Jamie and Taylor and Caitlin to come off mic when I mute myself and share some of the great work that is occurring in co-taught. For each program that we talk about tonight, we're not going to necessarily read the slide, but I wanted you to see a breakdown. As best we can, these numbers change quite frequently as students' needs arise or young people move into district or move into a different program. But for each of the slides for each program, you'll see a breakdown of numbers of individuals by grade. Gets a little complicated when we get to high school, so I'm happy to answer questions about that. Services are outlined. Oh, go ahead, Janine.
I'm sorry. Can you, after this, can you send this to us as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually built this as a resource more than a presentation. So what this provides is the criteria, the suggested criteria. It's never a one-size-fits-all program. Each individual is each individual, and we shape and shift our programs to meet kids where they are based on what they need. So we set criteria as a general rule. There's also exit criteria. Of course, the work of specialized learning is to give kids skills and strategies to be successful without the necessary modifications, but perhaps some accommodations and perhaps independence in school. So there is exit criteria from programs as well. And then each program's description and goals are here. So I leave that here and we'll share that with you for your reading at a later time. And I'm going to give the mic a break and turn it over to the experts.
Thank you, Bridget. So as Bridget mentioned, our co-taught environments, we have multiple co-taught environments across the district. I am lucky enough to supervise 4 of the different co-taught classes at Kendall and at Jefferson. I have Taylor and Caitlin here with me tonight who are part of my first grade co-taught teaching team. It's their first year teaching together in this environment. And we have done a lot of work as far as PD and collaboration and really individualizing programs for the students that are in their class. So I'm going to turn it over to them so they can talk a little bit about what their day-to-day life is like.
Hi, I'm Taylor Rubio. I'm the special education teacher in the co-taught classroom. This is my second year in co-taught. I really like co-taught because there's a bunch of different models that you can work with. And for me, last year, I did a completely different model than from how I'm doing it this year. And it's great because you get to collaborate with the general education teacher and you get to figure out what works best for you. Me and Caitlin did a lot of different models. We started with parallel teaching, and then we started doing stations teaching, which we found worked the best for us and our students. So basically with station teaching, she pulls a group of students and I pull a group of students. We teach the whole group lesson basically at the same time with a smaller group of students. And while we have about like 5 to 6 students with us, the other students are working on independent activities, and we kind of group the students with higher and lower students. So the higher students are able to help the lower students with the tasks. So that's one of like why I really like co-taught. I think it's really great with peer role models. For example, we're also doing a STEM project now. So some of my IEP students are working with their peers and creating an instrument with them, and they're having a lot of fun with it. And it's just awesome to see them, especially for some of my students who like to kind of isolate themselves. It's really awesome to see them engaging with their peers and working with them and having fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin now, and she's going to just talk about student growth in our co-taught classroom.
Hi there, my name is Caitlin Brown. As Taylor said, I'm the gen ed teacher in our first grade classroom. One of the students, so we've got 4 different students in our classroom with IEPs. I see the benefit as being with their peers, I think is one of the biggest benefits. One student with IEP plays baseball and soccer and with one of the other students, right? So he's always there to encourage them, and they've become really close and really good friends and like to work together. So having that connection, building that relationship is something that, is possible in a co-taught classroom. Another one that I see beneficial is when we have those students with the IEP and they have their scaffolds and they have, the things that they need them to help them, that not only benefits them, but it benefits the rest of the students in that group that we have when we pull for station teaching. So having them see that there are other peers in their class that also learn that way, I think is really important. Seeing them that they're not, the only ones that need this assistance and help, and helping them, access the curriculum is important. So yeah, I've seen them come out of their shells. They are coming and sitting in morning meetings right on the carpet, right next to their friends. They really are a great asset to our classroom, and it's important for the rest of the students to see how different children learn and to see how different students are able to access the curriculum and to learn from each other. So that is one of the biggest benefits that I see in co-taught.
Thank you, Caitlin. I also wanted to add that having 2 certified teachers in the classroom teaching at the same time is the most beneficial model that we can have. And it really has helped develop a wide range of skills across all of our students. And we've seen a lot more growth academically, socially, all of the things that our students are working on, whether they have an IEP, MLL, any type of need they have. We have seen a lot of growth in this environment just based on the fact that there are 2 teachers teaching and differentiating all day long. As you know, we have something this year called WIN, which what we like to say in our co-taught environments is it's WIN all day long. Whatever you need is what we do. So I think that it's important to note that this type of environment and this structure of teaching has been very beneficial to all of our students.
Thank you so much, Taylor and Caitlin, for taking some time out of your evening to share your work, and Jamie for celebrating the great work that is happening. Jamie's been doing a great deal of professional development and learning with her co-teaching teams, both within the classroom and then away from the space to gain fresh perspective and work on those partnerships. And we're truly grateful for the work that is occurring. So thank you all. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I'm going to hop around a bit and I'll summarize some of the programs where we don't have teachers joining us this evening. We didn't want to overwhelm with time. So we will return to a conversation about LEAP and Literacy Academy, next steps. And I'm going to stop here at PINE. PINE is an acronym for Program for Inclusion and Neurodiversity Education. This is the artist formerly known as NEST. And some years ago, the district engaged in really significant learning through NYU and a partnership with some schools in New York City. I was really lucky to be part of the first class built at PONUS as a middle school supervisor. And tonight with us, we have Christine O'Brien from Fox Run, who is the root of the pine, and she is doing the work at Fox Run with her colleagues, and Amanda Hall Brown, who works at Ponus Ridge, working in the Pine program at the middle level. And we also have Deirdre McKinnon, as I introduced at the beginning, who is currently the supervisor of the Fox Run program. So I invite you to learn from them this evening. Christine or Amanda, jump right in.
Christine, you want to start?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Christine O'Brien. I am the special education teacher at Fox Run in the 3rd grade classroom. And just like Bridget said, Pine is the new nest. It is more of a school-based philosophy than we've seen in the past, where it was just each classroom was considered nest and it was co-taught, and now we're trying to branch out. It's still in its infancy stages, I would say, of trying to figure out how we shift from nest to Pine at the school level. But we have a very strong team that is dedicated to our students, and we are growing rapidly. But it's very similar to the co-taught model, where you have 2 teachers, you have your general ed teacher and your special ed teacher. It is focused on students with autism, but we've branched off now to include students with other disabilities. And we are focused on gaps in academics and study skills as well. The Pine classrooms are still they're very much similar to our nest classrooms, where we use the same language throughout the day. We have different scaffolds in place, we use a recharge station. It's more of a therapeutic environment. And it says here, inclusion is a mindset, not a place, which is very important for our Pine our school. But I would say that, we're still learning how to shift from nest to Pine, but we have NYU support still. Sorry about that. And that's what I have to add.
Yeah, it's a great program that offers lots of opportunities for special ed staff and general ed staff to work together in the best interest of the students identified and their typical peers in the general ed setting. One of the things that I think is great about it is the SDI, the social developmental intervention. I work very closely with my speech pathologist to assure that students are generalizing those social skills, those pragmatic language skills, into the general education classroom. So they're able to have success. I had a student just get back from going on the Nature's Classroom trip without any Pine support. Stayed in the dorm, ate at the table, did all of the things, and was a huge success for him. I think it was made possible by all this.
I would just like to remark, I've been to that several times. That is quite a wonderful statement that you made, that without extra help, he or she was able to enjoy all the activities. That's great.
Yes. So it's just been a wonderful program. I think something else that makes this program so special is the connection you get to make with families. So I've had other positions in Norwalk, and I've always tried to connect with families, but because this is an inclusion model and we keep the caseloads a little bit smaller, there's less identified students in some classes, you really get to make personal connections with families, which is something that is really meaningful. Parents are the most important part of a team. So another plus to this program.
Here, I have a question back for Christina, if I might, or for Christine, is it? Can you hear me?
Christine, I think we can't hear you, but I think you can hear us.
Is Christine there?
She is. Maybe, can everyone see everyone?
No.
I wondered about that because I'm sharing the screen.
Right. But it's
I don't know.
okay. It's
Can you
okay.
hear us, Christine?
So if she can hear me, the question is about, wait a second now, I wrote it down as I usually do. The recharging stations. I was wondering if she could explain how, what would happen to use the recharging station, and how quickly a child can get back to normal, how that works.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Okay.
we love that sound. It's beautiful.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm my husband's still working, so I have both kids trying to eat dinner right now. So I apologize for whatever
Thank you.
happens right now. Yes, so the recharge station. So it looks like this student in the picture right here is using the recharge station in his classroom. And so the recharge station is for really all of our students. We tell them if they're feeling stressed or we really try to work with how their body is feeling. And they know that they can go into the recharge station, and we have fidgets, we have yoga available, you can just draw for some students. It's really whatever benefits the student. And the time limit is case by case basis. So for some students in the beginning of the year, they need a 30-minute break because they are just not ready. They're not regulated. They're not adjusted. So we give them that time. And then we make sure that we're decreasing over a certain period of time. We usually set in the beginning of the year for our class in particular, it's 3 minutes. We give them 3 minutes. There's a large timer in our recharge station, and we put it on for them, and they have 3 minutes to reset. We usually check in with them. What is your body telling you? Do you need more time? Are you ready to come back and join the class? And based on how they're feeling, they will come and join us, or they'll tell us, no, I need a few more minutes. And
that's great. That's really good to hear. And from your vantage point, it sounds like you find this work successfully.
Yes, it does. And like I said, it's case by case basis. It's it's not for every kid. In the past, I've had kids who sometimes need 45 minutes in the break area. It really depends on how elevated they are and what the situation was, the reason why they're going in.
Right.
Some students need it built into their schedule where they know, okay, right when I come back from wind time, wind was really hard for me. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to join the class.
That's very interesting to know how it works in practice. I appreciate that detail. Thank you.
I need to add that yesterday I spent the day at Fox Run and had the opportunity, went to different classrooms, and I was able to see parallel teaching and action in the classroom. But I think in talking about this, one of the things that really moved me was a student went to one of these stations and then was able to reintegrate by themselves. No one had to say anything. It was like built into the practice where it wasn't like, okay, come back. It was the student took the break they needed and then came right back into the learning. And it was just so seamless. And you can tell that it's a practice that has really taken off at the school. So I just wanted to shout that out. Seeing that in action was really exciting for me. So
impressive.
Thank you both so much for taking time, especially from dinner, Christine and Amanda. I know you've got a little guy over there too. So thank you both. We're truly grateful for all the work that you do.
Yes,
Hannah,
thank you.
I am going to mute you unless you were going to jump in. Just for her privacy's sake, I'm going to go ahead and mute her. Veronica, how is your signal? Would you be comfortable speaking to our transition programs?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I am now home. So
wonderful.
Happy to. Okay, so I'll put my glasses back on so I can see your screen. So Project Search, we actually have 2 Project Search locations now. Project Search, as Bridget mentioned earlier, is for our 18 to 22-year-olds who have completed all of their graduation requirements. But typically, these students only need 1 year of transition services. So whether it's their last year or perhaps it's like a 5th year of high school where they just need a little bit more before they're ready to go off into the world. Project Search teaches them through internships the soft skills required to gain competitive employment. We work with a vocational rehab associate, which is Ability Beyond, and we also work with Project Search International. And our 2 locations are Norwalk Community College and Norwalk Hospital, which we're very excited about. It has taken us about 5 years to get into Norwalk Hospital. With COVID, as you can all imagine, working in a hospital was not something that was going to be amazing for them to do. But now we are there, and they have, I think we've had 10 different internship sites. And one of the best parts about it is that the different hospital units, like the GI unit or the med surg unit or the ambulatory unit, they call it AMBI, they beg for our students to come back. So they actually fight over who gets to have the next round of internships with our students, which is fantastic. And at the end of the year, the students are placed through Ability Beyond into competitive full-time employment, which is also very exciting for us. And our other program, which is Norwalk Next Steps, is also an 18 to 22 program. It typically supports students for longer periods of time. So they might start right after they graduate high school and stay right up until the day before their 22nd birthday. We also teach them soft skills, but in addition to that, we work very hard on getting them out into the community. We have somewhere in the vicinity of 25 or 30 different community partnerships at this point that also include the Edge Fitness Center, where they go and work out, and that's where they get their adaptive PE time. They also work at O'Neill's, and I'm just trying to think of a couple other different ones. They were at Hatch and Bailey until they recently closed, so they were doing some work there. But they also go out into the community. They went to the Knicks game recently, so they're learning how to be productive members of their community while also learning soft skills for job placement. One of our 22-year-olds, he turns 22 on Thursday, just got his first part-time job today. He interviewed yesterday and they hired him today. So he's going to leave us and immediately have a part-time job to go into, which is so important for our students to have independence and community involvement once they're done with school. So if anybody has any questions, I know I kind of breezed through both of those, but they're kind of my favorite programs, so I'm happy to talk more.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, everything so far has been really exciting, and I can feel everybody's passion, which is, amazing through the computer. What did you say that the Next Steps age group is?
It's also ages 18 to 22. Yes,
okay.
But we serve them for a longer period of time, whereas Project Search is typically only 1 year. Next Steps, they can repeat it and come back year after year until they turn 22.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Also like to chime in that this workforce work we want, as you were saying, all students to get jobs. So we're happy these kids are getting jobs, and we want all of our students to get jobs. This is a form of success for us leaders to have our next generation get out there and work. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Veronica, was there anything else that you wanted to add about Next Steps?
No, well, there's the pictures. We have a wonderful spot on the 3rd floor at Park Street, which is our family center. And actually, several of our students will be beginning their internships with the Family Center over the next couple of weeks. We worked something out with the Family Center, with the MLL department. So along with the high school students that are going to be there doing their internships, our students will also be down there working with their similarly aged peers, doing some internship work there as well. So.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And again, toward the beginning of the conversation, I said that we were going to hop around a bit. So we're going to wrap up with a brief summary of some of our other programs. I may ask Ms. Granite to jump in and talk about literacy in just a moment, if she's comfortable with that. So we spoke briefly at the beginning about our LEAP program. We refer to our individuals who meet the criteria for this program at NECC as our Tiny Leap program. Sometimes you'll hear Baby Leap. And there are 2 groups of students who demonstrate moderate to severe delay across many of the domains. Often our young people who are under the age of 6 may have the eligibility criteria of developmental delay. Some may also have the eligibility for specialized learning through multiple disabilities or intellectual disability or even OHI. And when this program is the most appropriate for them, in that it is a small setting with a small number of students with embedded language services, as you can see from the program description, we create the safe space for them to learn and grow in an environment that's built just for them and their sensory needs. So we have 2 classes at NECC, one in the morning for our 3-year-olds and one in the afternoon for our 4-year-olds. And upon completion of this program, they'll move into a LEAP classroom if it's most appropriate for them at the elementary school. Currently, those classrooms are housed at Wolf Pit School. There are 2 sections of that class in that program, and there are 6 students in each. And some of our students in this program are also included in the general education setting with typical peers. They will attend classes and circles and groups and reading centers, special classes like PE and art and music, and recess with all of their colleagues in their appropriate schools. And so we're really excited that we are able to serve our population here in district with such a wonderful supportive program. We're very proud of our Literacy Academy as well. And Jamie, would you mind taking it from here for me?
Sure. So I also oversee the Literacy Academy grades 4 and 5 over at Merrimack, and I have been here since the inception of the program. And it's been really nice to see all of the different supports that we have added in each school year. So as Bridget has mentioned before, it's a continuum of services. There are criteria for students to enter the program, but we do every year look at all students with IEPs with a language-based learning disability. Dyslexia specific is most appropriate, but there are students that require the same type of instruction. So the great part about this program, in my opinion, would be that the students are taught all of their ELA and math in the Literacy Academy classroom. This year we have a total of 9 students. So what happens is they get that very direct instruction from a special education teacher, as well as a speech and language pathology assistant who is in the classroom all day long, as well as a paraeducator who's there to support different needs of some of the other students. Then they go into their general education classroom for social studies, science, specials, where they have access to their peers. They're developing those social relationships, as well as having access to that curriculum. We teach very, very specific scientifically research-based programs as far as language arts, but they do have access to the gen ed curriculum as well through comprehension-based activities, spelling, all different things that they're working on in the classroom with the co-teachers. As well as in math, they work with the math coaches, and they have access to the units of study for math, but then have those very individualized time periods for them to learn some of the skills that they have had a very difficult time learning. The program has been very successful. We have had many, many students go through the 4th and 5th grade at Merrimack and then grow into the Literacy Academy at the middle school, if it is still appropriate for them, if they still need that level of instruction. Again, what I really appreciate about this program is the collaboration between the general education, the special education, and the related service providers. We try to do a lot of wraparound services where the social workers, the speech and language pathologists will do push-in services, whether it's in the Literacy Academy classroom or the gen ed classroom. So it's really a continuum all day long, and our students have shown great success with their literacy skills and their math. Any questions regarding that? That was a little brief.
Jamie, when we say, and when you say there's great success, what are you looking at? I mean, there's emotional success, there's academic success. Do many of them, by the time they're ready to go to 7th or 8th grade, able to go into general classrooms?
Yes, so we're always looking for the least restrictive environment. We actually have some students this year who their math skills were a lot stronger, so they actually go into the general education classroom for math. So we're always looking at where is their skill set and where do they need that really intensive instruction, and where can they receive that gen ed. I have one student who goes just for the mini lesson, but then comes back and receives his instruction just in the small group. So it really is dependent on the student. Even though it's a program and we have these structures built in, we really individualize for each family, each student.
And when you're making decisions about, oh, they're catching up, they're doing really well, are you making those decisions at the end of every quarter, or are you even more fluid that you can do it in the middle as the action is happening? How does that work?
So we collect weekly data on all of the intervention programs that we are doing, as well as quarterly. We have our NWA scores, the classroom, grades, unit assessments, cool downs. We have so many different data points, and we review as a team monthly. So we do look at the children every month. We look at all of the data, but we do collect
monthly, a real look.
Monthly, I would say holistically looking at every single score. Weekly is what the special education teacher and speech and language pathology assistant are collecting as far as the intervention programs they're using.
Jamie, as you're talking, and Mary Ellen, I'm hearing your questions, I'm thinking that what might be an excellent addition to this resource is some of our current progress monitoring data. And so, Janine, to your request, just before sending this to you, we will embed some of the data that we're observing as we go through the year. Earlier
I would
today,
appreciate that. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Earlier
great.
today, we were remiss in not including it. Jamie and I were in conversation this afternoon, and she was sharing with me some of the incredibly impressive improvement and growth that we're observing, not only with individuals with IEPs, but also students who have supports through MLL, students who have 504s, and students in general education, as impacted by the work in co-teaching classes. So it will be really exciting to share some of that with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good read.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bridget.
Thank you.
And as I move through, I will take us to STARS, acronym for Successful Transitions Achieved Through Responsive Support. These are our classes at the elementary and middle school level. Oh, hi, Heather. I see you joining us.
Hi, sorry about that.
No, thank you so much. I am actually going to come back to STARS, seeing you join us, if you don't mind. Heather is here as an educator in the field, live from the road as well, to talk about our success program. And so, Heather, thank you for jumping in. We are briefly talking about the programs at work, and I appreciate you joining us to share some of your successes this year in the program and your experiences with it. Success is our therapeutic program that is designed for students from kindergarten through grade 12, if it is appropriate to meet their needs. To honor Heather's time, I hope you don't mind my interruption of myself around STARS, but I promise we'll get back to that in just about 5 minutes or so. Heather, are you comfortable sharing at this time?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I'm in the high school program in particular at Success. And within that program, we have a with significant internalizing needs that interfere with their ability to access their education to a higher level than can be just mitigated with therapeutic supports in the traditional public school environment. Which is wonderful. Students have access to curriculum and classes, electives, and it really offers a great opportunity for students to transition their way out as they have success within the program. The program is a therapeutic model that uses dialectic behavior therapy as the basis of the, sorry, I was just seeing the picture, as the basis of the therapy model we use for students. It focuses on emotion regulation, distress tolerance, mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, and learning to find balance and middle ground with things. And direct and explicit skills are taught to students. We're also very fortunate that because the classroom is a small classroom and therapeutic individuals are assigned to each classroom, therefore affording us a small caseload, we have a great opportunity, aside from the amount of intervention and support that we can provide in the counseling setting with both individual and group counseling, we also have the ability to be present in the classroom and help with the coaching that is done to help the students be able to actually practice the skills in settings rather than simply within the counseling setting. It also allows a lot more opportunity for us to observe and watch for those uses and generalizations of skills. There's also a lot of collaboration with general education staff in trying to enforce that. We do have registered behavior technicians in the classroom as well, which is wonderful. They also have training in the DBT in schools model, which allows them to help also provide therapeutic coaching if the primary therapeutic interventionist is not available. These staff can also, as students do transition into general ed environment, allow an opportunity, if necessary, to support and fade out of supporting them in the general ed setting. So we might have a student who will go out with this RBT to a classroom, and then we look at fading it and providing supports within the class so that the RBT can leave and the student can just practice the skills independently in the setting. There is also a lot of contact and support for families in trying to understand the skills that are being taught to the students. So hopefully that balance can be utilized in the home environment as well, along with a lot of collaboration with outside providers, as most of these students, based on their extremes, with regard to whether it's anxiety, low mood, variable mood, trauma history, really need a lot of support. So there is a lot of wraparound and making sure there's collaboration with these providers as well.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. This is Heather Martin. She is one of the clinicians in our success program, and she was jumping in to just have a few minutes to say hello to you and introduce her program. So thank you for the grace of allowing me to interrupt myself so I could introduce her. Heather, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Heather.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can bring us back. And here we are back at STARS. So I began to introduce that this is one of the programs that is also embedded in a full continuum from kindergarten through our students at the high school. This program is developed for students who have complex medical needs or a specific learning profile that requires a functional curriculum, modified curriculum. And again, much like LEAP, a very safe place to learn in a small setting with adult support to ensure that that focus, as you see in the script, is on an academic foundation. Our related services are deeply embedded in both our STARS program and our LEAP program. As students move through the grades, from the elementary programs at Rowayton to either PONUS or Nathan Hale. They then move on to the high school and will find themselves perhaps scheduled into a practical skills class. And Veronica, if I can call on you yet again, would you like to speak to practical skills?
Sure. So the practical skills, as Bridget explained, is very similar to the STARS programs at the middle and elementary levels. We also do have a significant amount of related services embedded. We encourage a lot of push-in service with our social workers and our occupational therapists and speech pathologists to encourage social skills and utilizing their fine motor skills in order to do those daily living skills, the cooking, the measuring, the painting, the dressing, or the tying of the shoes, all of those different types of practical skills that they need. And another piece of the practical skills curriculum is our PACE lab, which is a hands-on lab where students have the opportunity to, actually there's a picture right in the center there of one of our students in a PACE lab, where they learn skills that they would need going forward in either a factory setting or a food service setting, where they can do mock filing, learning how to alphabetize, they can learn how to use tools. They also do some cooking activities in that class. So our practical skills really are just that. They're those foundational skills that they need in order to go out into the world and be competitively employed. And that's our ultimate goal for all of our students across the continuum, but really for these students who can and will learn. We just have to give them the time, the opportunity, and the space to do it the way they learn best, which is hands-on with support around them.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Yep. And as we've taken a walk on a winding road through each of our program descriptions, something's happening. I don't know if you're able to see this glitching, but at the end of this resource, we share a list of, not an exhaustive list, but a list of several programmatic supports that are embedded within the professional learning and support of the programs. And we are always adding to this cadre of supports for each of our programs specific to what it is that occurs in each one and the purpose of them all. And so, as I mentioned, we will certainly share this with you. We have a bit of time, as I had hoped we would, for some questions, if there are any. And I'd also like to mention that Hannah Cohen is here. Hannah, is there anything that you wanted to add? Related services is interwoven within and throughout all programs, and she has the lion's share of the responsibility of organizing and ensuring that those happen with fidelity. And so thank you, Hannah, for joining us tonight. Just want to give you a second if there was something you'd like to add.
Sure. No, I think the only thing I would add is that we do always strive to ensure that related services are provided for students who require it, as well as in ways that are appropriate for their age, for their setting, for their needs, and also trying to always keep in mind that we always want to work on independence of skills. So, a student may require more services as they're younger and learning skills, but then as they get older, we always want to keep in mind, is that still appropriate? What else can we do? How can this be adjusted or changed, to meet the needs of the students as they continue to grow and learn and build in their abilities to expand their own education. So it is certainly a lot of staff members to kind of keep track of and make sure that everyone is doing what we need to do. We always like to provide professional development for our service providers, especially if they are, if they have an interest in a particular, area within the field, and then we, turn that around to then provide PD for the rest of the department as well. So we're always learning from each other, as well as, seeking opportunities to learn and grow as professionals outside of that as well, for the betterment of all of our students and their needs.
Thank you, Hannah. Rob, did you want to add anything?
I wanted to ask Hannah a question. Hannah, when we have needed to find staff members, can you just explain how that has gone for the most part?
So I will say that this year in particular, we seem to have had, it has been a challenge to find staff members to, whether it's to cover a leave or a resignation within the department. not only do we post those positions and hope to hire, within the district, but we've also had, many times have had to seek contractors through agencies or independent contractors as well, just to fill those positions.
And Hannah, in your short time, have you found that when we do contract, what have you noticed about those contracts over the last year and a half? Have you noticed anything in particular about the cost?
About the cost? Well, it definitely, and I don't have a side-by-side comparison. I know there are other things that go into the cost if we hire directly in terms of just benefits and things like that. But, the hourly cost to hire a contractor does seem to be higher than an hourly cost to hire within district. And there is some variability in that, but it certainly is a higher cost overall.
All right. Well, and that I wanted to highlight that because we've talked a lot about how we really don't want to miss services because it ends up interrupting a student's program, and we are going to fill in those services later, but we're also, there's a significant cost to bringing in our contractors, but we see the value because you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay in the end. But the main thing is trying not to interrupt the student service. So we have brought in services, and we've had maternity leaves, or we've had people that have moved closer to home, different reasons. And I just wanted to make sure that we could highlight that piece, especially with our related services.
Mm-hmm. Bridget, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So this is really overall picture. I'm trying to imagine, the number you gave was 321 students. And then these are the ones that are in the specialized learning situations. But then there are other students that have IEPs that are not part of that 321. Mm-hmm. And then we have other students that are outplaced. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to understand how we as a school system get up to 15.7% of our student population. So that's my question.
How do we get to that number in these programs?
Apparently not in these programs, because 300 out of 12,000 is not going to be 15%.
Right. So these programs are not inclusive of every student. So there are also many students who have IEPs who are not identified or placed in a program. They are functioning within.
That's what I want to. So could you, as you explain that, explain so another 1,000 students? How many students have IEPs that are not in these programs?
Roughly 1,350 to 1,400 students. Would you say that's good math, Robin, Deirdre?
Yeah, I would say around there. Yeah.
That number is making more sense to me, because then that plus those outplaced then could get us to something close to 15.
Close to 2,000. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the overall look at specialized learning. And just one question, it could be different here. I taught for a long time in Florida, and there the gifted and talented was in special ed. Is that so here?
So they're not counted in that count when we talk about the percentage of individuals who have an IEP, but IDEA affords rights to students who are identified as gifted and talented under the same law and umbrella. And so gifted and talented for many years in Norwalk has worked within the same department as specialized learning.
Yes, that makes sense to me. But it's not they're not counted in the number.
Correct. As having an IEP
needs.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So that's a little tricky because they do have special needs, right?
Yes. And I think you've just given us a topic for our next conversation. So I think that we'll look to ways that we can more clearly identify who's within the halls of our school buildings and what special education looks like if your placement isn't in a special program or a school out of district? What does special education look like in the milieu? It's a great topic.
Yes. That's important to understand that, because it's it really leads much more to your initial statement of special needs is a service and not a place. And what this is just a little aside, you know, that I taught for decades. And one of the curious things, I'm speaking to all the special needs teachers in this, one of the curious things is as you work and try to fathom what's the mystery of this child, what is the key to get to that child, and you find out that whether they're special needs or they're not, you know, especially if they're special needs, they're more and more like yourself. You're like, oh my God, I have that problem too. You know, I'm wondering if that has happened inside your own experiences. But we are all part of the whole family of man, that's for sure.
Yes. And I think we all see our celebrations in the eyes of the students we work with. And we get to know our own cognitive profiles right along the learning that's occurring with students learning their own cognitive profiles. And I think each of us have strategies that are increasing on the daily. One of mine is time management. And so with that lacking executive function that I hold, I do want to be respectful of your time, knowing that there is a second meeting coming. And I'm so grateful to our full team, the folks who joined us for part and all, for taking time out of their evening to celebrate the work that we're doing. And I'm so grateful to each of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we really appreciate all of you.
We do appreciate
everything that you do, and the presentations were awesome. And I think that we need to do it from time to time and have a review, because it's always more knowledge. It's always great to see what's going on. And I think more people need to keep seeing it over and over again. So thank you for that.
And I just wanted to wrap it up by saying that this work doesn't happen without the amazing work of our educators, our special ed supervisors. That, I mean, they are constantly working on a daily basis to support our kids. Our related service supervisor and the related service staff, I needed to make sure, because they're working really, really hard to support our students. And this year, the other challenge has been CT SEDS as we made that transformation. So we're doing all this work and doing the switch of platforms. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to everyone, and to Bridget leading the team. So
thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Janine, anything else?
I think that is it. And before we move on to our next meeting, so we will conclude at 6:34 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your